I was trying to come up with a name for this video and I just couldn't do it. Should I call it just the facts? The bare facts? Gimme the facts? How about the facts on facts? Oh well, it's about facts. Literally, it's about facts. Let's check it out. I have a lot of material to cover today, and this one's not so much a repair video as more of a public service announcement. We'll talk about security. Now, this is a fax machine. For those of you old enough to remember what a fax or facsimile or telecopier is, it's basically a scanner and a printer that connects to a telephone line and will allow you to send and receive documents. Now, they may not be as popular today, and a lot of times today they come as part of a multifunctional printer, but they were sold for many years as a standalone device such as this, and they came in a couple different varieties. The first type used a roll of thermal paper, which is actually the fax machine that I have. Yes, I have a fax machine, uses a roll of thermal paper, and the same roll has been in there for probably 10 years because it's not used that often. I used to have to use it with an insurance company that required documents to be sent to them by fax. I think currently about the only business that requires faxed documents is a pharmaceutical. You know, if your doctor is ordering a prescription from the pharmacy, I think that's still required that they fax it over. They don't accept other forms of communications. Electronic, that is. But anyway, what I want to talk about on this particular style of fax machine is something that some people may or may not be aware of. And that is, these ones were a plain paper fax machine. Now, there were basically three types of plain paper fax. This is one style. The other style was an inkjet, which used an inkjet type cartridge, and then there was a laser. So what I'm going to talk about today on this one, and this is going to be a relatively short video, is does not apply to inkjet. So if you have to buy an inkjet cartridge and put in an inkjet cartridge, or if it's a laser printer and you put a toner cartridge in, it does not apply. But these ones here, there's a real security risk when receiving documents on this style of fax machine. Now, first of all, let's go over the components. Fax machine has rollers and has a scanner with a light source, and it's just a CCD scanner, just a single one-line scanner, and as the paper is advanced one line at a time, it scans the document from one side to the other, and that is then sent out as a digital signal at 9600 baud, and then they moved it up to 14.4K, but most were 9600. But it was a line by line, scanned one line, transmitted it, scanned the next line, transmitted, and then on the other end there was another modem, and the modem then took the incoming signal and it translated it into either a spot or no spot on that line of paper. And most fax machines did it with what's called a line printer, which was just a line heater, which had all these little heating elements, and they would heat up. If it was black that was detected, it would turn on the heating element, it would burn a spot in the paper. These ones here use what's called a transfer ribbon or transfer film. And this is where the problem here lies. So when you get these machines, they use plain paper. You put the paper in the back. The paper is drawn through here, and there's a heating element underneath here. And what this heating element does is it basically burns the image from the incoming fax into this transfer film onto your paper. And here is the problem. You see, every fax that this thing has ever received is going to be stored on this roll of film. And all I need to do is put a light source behind it, and you'll be able to see what was on here. You see that? This just so happens to be the log that was printed. And I've rolled this back a bit just so you guys can see it. I spent some time and just rolled this back because, of course, this is the new roll here. But I can go through this and I can read every single thing that's ever been printed on this machine. That was their log. But if I roll it back a little further, I can see what documents this person has received. And I've already gone through the little bit of this was before, as I was prepping for the video. And there's a blank page that was sent. Here's another one here. This looks like something that somebody, a legal document that somebody had to receive. Oh, it's an insurance document. Great. Hope you guys couldn't read that. Not that it matters, because I know where this came from. The person that this came from died a few years ago. So this is, you're not going to get any personal information off of this one unless you want some personal information about a dead person. And some more blank pages. But you get the picture. So if you've got one of these fax machines that use this type of a roll, when you are finished with the roll, cut it up, slice it up, burn it. Do something other than just throw the used roll in the trash, because any Tom, Dick, and Harry can just roll this back and look at anything private. Looks like this one here has a lot of life left in it. There's a page. Looks like they got a bunch of blank pages go through. But this is another insurance document here, it looks like. Anyway, it's this is the problem. If you've got one of these fax machines and it uses this type of a film, if you're disposing of the fax machine, be sure you dispose of the film, or when the cartridge is done, don't just put it out with the trash, or don't just put it into recycling. Be sure you do something to destroy the film. Otherwise, anything that you received could very well be on, well, it will be on that print film. And if it falls into the wrong hands, you could find yourself at a financial loss if there's financial information. And typically, a lot of times faxes did have financial information on them. So keep that in mind. If you've got one of these machines and you've got to dispose of this film, do it right. Don't just put it in the recycle bin or put it in the garbage. Destroy it. Now, something that a lot of people used to do with these machines, I know because this print film was expensive, but something that you can do on these is you can rewind them. And of course you won't get a perfect print, because wherever the, it's not a toner, it's actually like a thermal ink. But wherever the thermal ink is transferred to the paper, obviously it's not going to transfer again. But this is something that people used to do. They used to recycle, especially if their fax machine wasn't really needed super high quality. They would roll them back and use them again, because these print films were expensive. Because a lot of times there was a good portion of these that were wasted. You know, people would send a fax, they'd have a cover sheet, and then they'd have a document, and sometimes there was a couple blank pages that were sent, especially when these, and this was a problem, but I remember very clearly when we had a fax machine at the shop, and it used to just tick the owner off. People would make up fax lists and they would sell them of businesses, and then other companies would start marketing. They'd do fax marketing. You'd come in the morning and there was 20 pages of faxes of companies trying to sell. Like we get email spam now. Well, it was fax spam. So there was a lot of times where a company would send stuff out, and it would be like 5 pages where there may only be something very, very small on the page. Well, you can imagine how expensive that would get for someone running one of these faxes. Now, you guys might be wondering why I'm rolling this back. I'm rolling this back just so that I can do a little demo on it. So I'm just going to rewind some of this a bit, and then I'll do some copying or something with it just to show you guys how it works. I like this. Important for optimal performance. Genuine Panasonic film is recommended and not to be reused. We cannot be responsible for problems that may be caused by using non-Panasonic films. And then they wanted you to buy this film for it. But this is the print head right here. This is the heater right down there, that print head. And I say I've just rewound this a bit just so that I can put it on here. And typically these would hold between, well, this one I think was probably 100 pages. I think this was 100 feet long, this one. But as you can see here, oh, here, this is what would happen. This guy looks like he got a bunch of advertising too. From Lansdowne Saturn Sab. Special ordered part for $307. Right, you can see on here. As I say, I'm not too worried about any information on here, you guys seeing any information, just because I know where this came from. This came from an estate, and the fella is gone, so I don't think we have to worry too much about any confidential information that is on here. But I figured I would just show you guys this. I'm going to plug it in, and we'll make some copies on here. Another thing you want to watch out is this thing.
I'm so sorry. It's the wrong number.
These things still have messages. Like, this fax machine hasn't been used in years. It's still storing the messages that someone left on the machine. It's got like 30 messages on here. So it's like, yeah, if you're disposing of one of these things, delete your messages if you're using the answering machine. Because this thing has an answering machine in it, and it had a whole bunch of messages stored in it. So we'll erase the messages because, you know, we don't need to keep any messages on here. There we go. Messages are now...
Your eligibility expires shortly, so please consider this your final notice. Please press 1 on your phone now to speak to a live operator and lower your interest rate.
Oh.
Press the number 3 to discontinue further notices. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. It's, you know, they were getting those calls back then too. I wonder if they actually recorded a greeting or they just used the default. Let's see.
Hello, we are unable to answer right now. To send a fax, please start transmission. To leave a voice message, please speak after the beep.
So that was the default message, but you could record your own. Oh, I pressed the set button. I got 16 seconds there to record an outgoing message, so it had a 16-second outgoing memory, and it counts down here, and then of course now my message will replace what was on there from the factory. And I can check it.
Press the set button. I got 16 seconds there to record an outgoing message, so it has 16-second outgoing memory, and it counts down here, and then of course now my message will replace what was on there from the factory.
You load your paper in the back like that. It's supposed to be like a document holder that held the paper at an angle so the paper went in. But to make a copy, I'm just going to stick a piece of paper in here just to show you guys how this thing works. If I stick a piece of paper in here, it's ready to go. If I press the copy button, it'll make a photocopy onto here. Number of copies, 1. There we go. And suck the paper in crooked, of course. This was the problem with these type of machines, is that, well, sometimes the paper would go into them kind of crooked, and it would come out looking kind of crooked here. And then sometimes the paper would rip, and then you had one fine mess. Yeah, that was a common complaint with these. You get the idea. That was a common complaint with these units, is that they would jam paper. We used to see them come in, and the complaint on it was it would eat. Probably going to try to reprint that again because it's now wasting the film, because it detected that it didn't work. Oh, it goes in here, that's why. Just wasted a bunch of film. That we'll try this again. Maybe it'll print this time. Okay, I'll kind of try to hold the paper a little more straight. Copy. Now, roller, I guess, is probably worn out on this. It's dragging the paper through at an angle again, but you get the idea. Common problem on these machines is they would eat paper. So we'd get them in for service, and the paper is eaten, and we'd have to change the rubber rollers or clean them up. Usually had to change them. These rubber rollers down here, usually the one in the back here, or one of the rollers gets worn, and usually it's this one here. We'd have to change the roller. Quite common. There's another roller in the back here that causes issues. But anyway, that's and then there's also this feed. Anyway, that's piece of junk. It won't even stay closed. There. Garbage. Anyway, yeah. Now you know which fax machines to avoid. Yeah, glad to see these things go. But there's lots of these still out there. There's lots of people that still use them. I go to clients' homes all the time, and I still see these machines sitting in people's home offices. Whether they use them much these days now compared to, 20 years ago, they're still out there. People still use them. What more can I say? Thanks for watching. Got something else coming up real soon. Bye.